especially given the history of this segment of the market. John Bogle and Vanguard revolutionized, retail investing with consumer or investor-aligned fund options. Sean, you were strongly critical of the practice of sort of setting your investment selection on autopilot. Perhaps you'd welcome clarification on those points.
Let me just make a general comment here, is that, the point's been raised that doing this or applying being our authentic selves in our investing activity is difficult. I think, managing money, I think Jesus was pretty clear on this. I don't think he said this was going to be easy. In fact, the suggestion is that it's going to be incredibly difficult. And so I don't think that the suggestion that this is going to be difficult gives us an out. I don't think that is, an invitation to say, well, gosh, I don't know, it's going to be hard, and therefore I guess we don't really have to do it. And that's really the problem with indexing is, as a money manager, I certainly don't have any problem with somebody hiring somebody else to be the steward of their investments, but it has to be that. It has to be somebody else. You're delegating that authority to a person, and the great problem with indexing is you're not delegating it to a person. You're delegating it to a very amorphous process that has no human in control. It is it's a gargantuan committee structure that votes according to criteria that none of the people delegating the capital to them are going to be, I don't think, generally familiar with or have scrutinized. The key point would be that the delegation is possible, but you have to delegate to someone who's going to struggle with these tough questions. Not that we have answers as to what exactly are the right investments to make or not, but the point is that the struggle needs to be undertaken.
Excellent. Thank you, Sean. Professor Kennedy, I might welcome some of your comments relative to Sister Pat's comments. In some of your writings, you've assigned the term active investing to a similar strategy where a certain corporate change is desired and pursued through stock ownership. Many women's religious orders have pursued this admirably, but can it properly be understood as investment? Oftentimes there are activists who approach shareholder meetings purchasing a single share without any real intent to generate return on that capital. Isn't that sort of just, I don't mean to be needlessly provocative, sister, but isn't that sort of just purchasing a ticket to the front of the protest line instead of socially responsible investing?
Well, it might be indeed something like that, but investment and investor are rather ambiguous terms. First of all, I suppose if we carry that out, we might distinguish between an investor and a speculator and wonder if the speculator has the same, let's say, moral right to try to change the direction of the management of the company as someone who's invested in a more proper sense and plans to keep that investment for a while. I don't think there's anything morally wrong with buying a ticket to the shareholder meeting so that you can voice a concern about what the company is doing. I think communities, religious communities of women in the United States have probably taken the leadership of this in this area, at least within the Catholic community. It seems to me that it's perfectly legitimate to try to influence a company to change its ways. Other shareholders have a voice, company managers have a voice. You don't get a right to determine how this is going to happen. Between active and passive investing, I'm trying to call attention to what I think is a larger set of responsibilities when one manages wealth. It's more than simply avoiding doing evil. You really have to think about the good you can do. And buying a ticket to a shareholder meeting and attempting to influence the company, and Sister Pat has described ways in which Catholic shareholders have positively influenced companies in the past. I think that's a perfectly legitimate thing to do. And if it's possible for you to do it, I would even say it's probably in some way obligatory.
Let me resume my Rosinante here. But I think that we need to recenter the discussion and to help clarify it, to use active versus passive, but not just like an index fund. Part of the discussion has been slipping into whether you can be a Catholic or socially responsible manager in your business. I think that's unequivocally yes. You are not freed from your social responsibility when you assume management responsibilities in business. And then all the complexity of doing right in business is no different than the complexity of doing right in your neighborhood or at home with your family or whatever. You have to live that out. So I would urge all of us to set aside that's an easy one. And then similarly, when you're taking an active hand investing your money in companies that are of a scope, scale, size, where you can really look into them, I think that, we could make a case for socially responsible investing, microcaps and the like, where you are personally able to meet with management and exercise some human judgment about what's going on with them. And as the gentleman said, I think you can also make a case for investing in yourself, in your own company. That's like management, where you can really bring your Catholic thinking to bear. And although I take Sister's point that some socially active investment doesn't involve buying just to make a point, I think, like Professor Kennedy would agree, there's no harm in buying a share of a stock simply to make a point, to be active in that way, to be a witness, and to make a statement through shareholding. But my concern is this: the vast majority of money is put into securities of large companies. So I would suggest that this brings back to Father Bob's point of this overwhelming complexity of stripping out the person and just applying moral forms to a product. And then my effort to, with my rather silly example of Planned Parenthood going public, is to demonstrate how quickly you chase down rabbit holes, trying to chase through these various securities to determine whether something is going wrong that you need to withdraw from it. And I would suggest that we're about to back ourselves into a corner where we say the only social responsible investing is not to invest in these publicly traded securities, stocks and bonds of most of the companies in the world. And if that's the only morally defensible action for an investor to take, so be it. All virtue comes with sacrifice. But I'm not sure that's really the position we should be fighting for, trying to defend.
Interesting. Thank you, Bill. Sean, you brought up the interesting issue of not just putting money to work, but accepting money flowing into your fund, for example. You brought up the issue of accepting union pension money, and then that would thereby limit your voice, your ability to criticize union activities. The principal of AQR hedge fund, of AQR Capital, has done just that. He has accepted union pension money while still criticizing their activities. Your reactions to that, maybe expound on your thoughts there.
So for those of you not familiar, there's the have been problems, not least of all here in New York State, with money managers exchanging political contributions for pension money. And the de facto rule has become in the industry, if you receive any money from a state pension, that you are prohibited from contributing to any state, any individual running for state office. And the way the compliance works is if you have any pension money from any state or are pitching any pensions anywhere, basically the compliance departments don't allow you to participate in state elections. You can, as you rightfully point out, still, use your bully pulpit and write op-eds. CalPERS actually tried to crack down on this, so some pension funds were less accepting of this and actually demanded a conformity of opinion, or at least silence, from managers accepting money on the issue of pension reform. But generally speaking, I think it's a problem given where we are at our this juncture in history, this juncture in our country's history, that money managers in general are not able to participate in state elections with the substantial amount of capital they have, and it's a real problem. I do want to respond to one thing Bill said as well. Again, it's not easy, but one of the points that you raised as the reductum ad absurdum of this application because no doubt it will be not easy, was, are we to not buy U.S. government debt? And I think this is a very interesting question, because we're not there today, but were we Venezuela, and you're a Venezuelan citizen, do you really want to be subsidizing the activities of that government? And how far will our government go in attacking the church or attacking institutionalized religions? How far would they have to go before you were to decide that you might not want to lend them most of your savings at a negative real rate of interest?